and we're going to talk about rapid rewiring, that transition to transformation unlike any other, and how people are doing this faster and faster. I mean, how we're gaining breakthroughs. We can learn things, but till we have those aha moments and those breakthroughs, it can be challenging for us. However, you know what? The most important thing is that there's, I say, grace and space. So you have a little grace. You have to make space for yourself to learn and take the steps. Just like a baby, no babies were born running. Well, we get to take that time and hold that space and place so that we can be graced with meeting the right people, having the right conversations, learning the right information. And so with that, I'm going to bring on our speaker this evening. She's Michele Molitor, and she's CEO of Nectar Consulting, and she's a rapid transformational therapist. Now, how many of us believe we need rapid transformation in one area or another, or many like me? I'm going to say I would love to have done it rapidly rather than taking maybe 12 years to learn how to develop myself to become, actually more calm, feeling peace in no matter what state the world or my personal world was in, and being confident enough to start a show or get up in front of people and speak so that I could share my message. Each one of us has an important message out there. And so today I am really excited to have Michele join us. And with that, I will bring her in so she can share a little bit more. Michele, welcome. I am so excited to have you here because, when like minds get together, the conversations just flow so easy. And the cool thing, it isn't about you and me. It is really about the expansion and the reaching out so that everybody gets to level up with us, be in a cocoon with us if they need to be, whatever area of life that they need, so that when we show up, we can help with those mental, emotional aspects, social aspects, that holistic well-being that I know in this world that you know all too well. So welcome. And
Thank you. So nice to be here with you.
Great. I definitely wanted to hear a little bit about your I think what's fascinating about people is getting to know each of our backgrounds and why we do what we're doing, and how, breaking through taboos and talks speaks to you in what you do in your rapid transformation and in your consulting world.
Yes, thank you. So let's see. I have been a professional coach now for almost 20 years. It'll be my 20th year this year. And I came to this a very strange route. I was a creative director in web development in my former life, Rita, and I got moved to the San Francisco Bay Area for a hot .com startup that was about to IPO, and a fancy title, and I thought I had a golden ticket. And then the market crashed the week I started, which was the week we were going to IPO. But we kept persevering on, right, as any good .com does back in the day. And I kept building my team and expanding it, and hired some folks that made it very clear to me that they didn't like working for a woman. And essentially, in hindsight, I can see, I didn't have the language then, but in hindsight, I could see, I was really bullied out of my job. Mm-hmm. And what that did, it devastated my confidence. It had me second guess and doubt myself pretty substantially, and created a big case of imposter syndrome. And I discovered coaching to help me figure out what to do next. And in the process of being coached, really, it was like all the cells in my body kind of came into alignment in my spirit. I'm like, yes, this is what you're supposed to be doing. I was like, oh, okay. So I changed careers. I got trained and certified and started my own company, Nectar Consulting, back in 2001. And I've been doing it ever since. And I've always been a learning junkie along the way. How do we improve ourselves? How do we grow? How do we shed the layers, the old beliefs that no longer serve us, right? And so several years ago now, I discovered this modality called rapid transformational therapy, and did some work for myself with it. And it was so powerful. It literally eliminated some deeply held subconscious blocks that I had tried every which way to Sunday to get at, and unsuccessfully for many, many, many years. And they were moved out of the way within a few weeks. And it blew my mind. It really did. And so when Marissa Peer, who founded the work, started training people in it, I was like, yes, pick me. And so I went on to get trained and certified as well, and have integrated RTT, as we call it, with my coaching practice and what I call rapid rewiring. So now in 30 to 90 days, I'm able to help folks literally get at the originating events that are being held in their subconscious beliefs about who they are and how they should show up in the world, how they look and they think about money, and how that impacts their entire lives. Because not only does do these limiting beliefs that we don't even know are there most of the time, not only do they guide how we move through the world safely, but they can also create and end up manifesting into physical ailments in our bodies as well. So all of that said, it's just been an amazing journey to watch people from all over the world. I do all my work over Zoom. So it's really fascinating to watch people have these aha moments about themselves, their relationship with money, and other aspects of their lives that they thought was unsolvable. And suddenly the light shines through and they're able to move beyond it. And it's just really joyful for me.
I love it. So what are some of the words that might show up in the world around somebody's world when they are, in imposter syndrome, as you say? Or maybe if you would like for our audience to kind of describe a little bit of what is imposter syndrome?
Sure. Imposter syndrome, actually, it's a term that was coined back in the 70s by two research psychologists, and they were studying women, but it applies to both men and women. It's when you have an overwhelming sense that you really aren't providing the value that everyone else thinks you're providing. I'm not as good as people actually think I am. Who am I? Why did they hire me? Oh my gosh, did they make a mistake? And for women in particular, it tends to be more prevalent because of the social modeling that we've lived for centuries, right? And it's only been in the last century that those beliefs have started to change. And so when I was able to recognize how much it was impacting my abilities and it was keeping me small, I was like, oh, wow, right. At first, it was just like, oh, I had to regain my confidence. But then I started to see that it's not just your confidence that gets taken down with imposter syndrome. It's your self-esteem. It's, speaking up for yourself. It's asking for the raise or the promotion that you deserve, when often our male counterparts are very quick and easy and able to do that. So it's really about shifting your belief in yourself and seeing yourself through a different set of lenses that aren't putting blinders on you.
And how fast have you seen somebody transform from something that they started with? And sometimes it probably takes time for some people, just depending on where they're at. Is that What's the
Um,
time frame?
sure. So just to give you some reference, previously when I was just doing coaching, I would have 6 to 12 month engagements with my clients, right? And I would have 2 sessions a month. Now in 30 to 90 days, I'm able to get at the root cause of the beliefs so they can see them now from a different adult perspective, because oftentimes
Mhm.
these beliefs are planted as seeds when we're children, right? So they're able to find the root cause and literally rewire their neural pathways in their brain with new empowering beliefs. I am enough, I do provide value, of course I'm good at what I do, right? And then blending that with coaching and what I call a transformation recording, which is a guided hypnosis recording that they listen to every night for 21 to 30 days. And essentially, your brain likes repetition, right? So as you're listening to this recording, that is my voice instilling new empowering beliefs, and strategies for success with binaural relaxing music in it. You're literally building these new pathways in your brain so that you're seeing these results very quickly, and they last a really long time, because you've built those new pathways and you've kind of overwritten and wiped out the old tape, so to speak.
I love that. That's, it's so funny. As you're speaking, the thoughts that come to my mind are, the secret lies within, right? And it really
Absolutely.
definitely does uh, rely within, because from that subconscious, it's those voices. So it's those words, that chatter that we're hearing. And like you said, if you're in a place of leadership, sometimes those voices that come after is, maybe we're just kind of bragging so much about who we are. And I love where you put the point of the emotions that come around it, of worthiness and deserving of that position, if you will. I was definitely informed by one of my male counterparts that, when I thought of taboo talks and around this arena, while it's commonplace for women, it actually is, I found, pretty common for men, but they just don't share about it, because the
Yeah.
taboo is, they're a guy, they're tough, they should be able to figure it out, or because some men are very direct, and that's just their, I'm going to say, mode of operation, because maybe they didn't have the stories when they were younger. And if my understanding is, it's, well, like with money stories, I understand that most people develop their money stories around money are developed by the time they're around 7 or 8 years old. And
Yep.
that's pretty much the case with these types of stories as well, right?
Yeah. Oftentimes,
Yeah.
um, it's, you know, as children, we're sponges. Our brains are just sponges, and it just takes in all of the information that it hears, good, bad, and ugly. Whatever the soup you're swimming in, as I like to say, the energy, the atmosphere of the home that you grew up in is the energy that you're taking on, and the beliefs that you're taking on. So if you grew up in a family where there wasn't enough money, you were always, in a scarcity mindset, then that mindset will move forward with you, because it's the only reality that you know,
Mhm.
right? Um, and everybody's money stories are different, but even someone who grew up in an affluent family doesn't mean they won't have difficulties with money, because of the conversations they're having with themselves about it, right? I had a particularly twisted, convoluted story around money that, um, if you have too much, then you won't be loved. And I just wanted to be loved. So my internal mindset, my amygdala, which is your fight or flight mechanism, I like to call her Amy. Amy's your amygdala, and she just wants to keep you safe, right? But Amy was like, "Oh no, well. Let's not make too much money, because then bad things will be. People will withdraw their love from you if that happens." And it was a decision I made as a very young child because of the circumstances in my life, and it was just like, I couldn't understand, like, what the heck? Why can't I get past this barrier, right? And once I figured that out, it was like, it's like the lid popped off and everything shifted. So it's really quite amazing how these very subconscious beliefs that we hold shape how courageously we move into the world or we don't.
And probably how quickly. I'm going to say for me, the story had been I had to work hard for my money because I saw that you could be proud to be the person who worked the hardest or worked the most. That meant you were not better than other people, but that you were being good and you wanted to show up really as being, I'm going to call it the good girl. You wanted to be the good girl. You didn't want to be or the obedient girl. And that's really a system of stories that I learned literally from watching my dad work many, many, many hours, to the bone to take care of us, because it meant that you loved people and wanted to take care of them. So those were some of those stories that, working until I would be like so fatigued, my knees would buckle, literally. And not realizing, not even having a clue, even though people around me were telling me, it was almost as if I had to go through a process where, I think I've heard you say it, where you're peeling back the layers, right? So we start, that was one point. But then over time, and I've only known it over time, so until I'm meeting you now, right? And I know that this can change. And so that's why I'm so super excited, because I think the combination of really understanding our relationships, because it's all about relationships. And the first relationship is within, with yourself, right? As you've been explaining.
Mm-hmm.
And then expands into your outer world. So you were talking about the Amy amygdala and the limbic system versus, so this is the neuroscience, correct? And is it also neuro-linguistic programming as well, where we're
NLP or neuro-linguistic programming is how we flip the script on it, right? So RTT is this really unique combination that brings together NLP, cognitive behavioral therapy, and hypnosis inside of one session, right? So I'm able to take someone down into a very relaxed state. It's an alpha brainwave state. It's actually a very common thing. Hypnosis gets a bad rap sometimes, but it's a very common thing. So for example, you know how when you drive the same route to the grocery store every day, right? Or every week, whatever. And then while you're driving there, you're thinking about doing the laundry and picking up the dry cleaning. Oh, and then you get a text from your husband at the stoplight, right? Your subconscious has taken over. And that's basically a form of hypnosis that's moving you from point A to point B, and you weren't necessarily consciously doing it, right? So in this alpha brainwave state, my clients are very relaxed, they're awake, they're able to answer my questions, but their bodies are just like super, super relaxed, as if you had just woken up from a nap, for example. And in that resting state, I'm able to speak with their subconscious versus their critical judging conscious mind. So we're kind of able to bypass that critical judging self and get at the root causes of these beliefs. So then you can then see them kind of at a distance as a witness almost, and then neutralize the emotional charge around it, right? So when you go back and look at the event when you're 5, where you made this decision about yourself, oh, I must not be good enough because little Johnny said I was bad on the playground, right? And you know, oh, well, I'm no longer 5, and I'm a grown-ass woman, and I know that I am enough, right? and so you can start to reprogram your thinking using NLP in a combination of ways to build those new neural pathways.
So ages. of people that are like, I'm gonna, I want to assume, but I don't like the word assume, that it's usually people that are more aware in their middle years of life, or when do people start to realize or have an awareness that, hey, you know what, it's just not going right now. Like, how young are people that you use rapid transformational therapy on? I can imagine it's to however old, because the longer we go in life, the more I'm just going to do this. Like, I feel like I'm carrying bags and bags and purses of stuff along. I used to
Take that
physically
off.
do
Take
that.
that off.
I used to
Yeah.
physically do that, and, which was fascinating because I did not realize I was actually actively doing that with the type of purses that I had. So how young, and maybe what kind of topics are there different topics that you see for certain age groups?
I have worked with kids as young as 7 and folks as old as, I think my oldest client has been 72. So it really spans. And kids, you do it a little differently because they are still very absorptive. They're very sponge-like. So the session goes a little bit differently with the parent kind of in the other room on Zoom observing, not participating, but just observing, so the child feels safe and whatnot. And, like one little boy that I worked with, he wasn't sleeping. He wasn't sleeping well. And so we, did some work together, and we just did one session, and I made him a recording, and he was able to calm down because he had anxiety, right? So when you're able to calm the anxiety down, then the sleep can come back in. I've worked with people on a variety of things. Typically, they come to me, oh, I want to increase my confidence, or I want to expand my business growth or my leadership, right? But what I find 5 layers down is something very different oftentimes. And it's those blocks at a subconscious level that are not only holding them back, but creating manifesting as physical ailments. So for example, I had one woman who came to me, I want to grow my business and I keep hitting this wall. I was like, okay. And she said, yeah. And then when that happens, then I have this terrible bout of IBS, inflammatory bowel syndrome. I was like, oh, how long has that been happening? She's like, 15 years. I'm like, well, let's get rid of that, shall we? She's like, okay. Right. And within 30 days, she was able, from our session, she was able to identify it was a fear of success, a fear of being too powerful that was holding her back, and her body was responding by this, clenching exercise. And literally after 30 days, her IBS was gone and her business has gone to a whole new level. And so folks who have been dealing with things for 15, 20, 30, 40 years, chronic migraines, IBS, arthritis, psoriasis, adrenal fatigue, anxiety, depression, addiction, they're able to significantly reduce things or eliminate them altogether. Wow, because that's how powerful your mind is, everyone.
The more that I learn in this arena around our brain and brain science, just super amazing. I always ask my friends, have you seen the movie Hidden Figures? And in Hidden Figures, there's a department of just computers, and the computers are the women computing the calculations for the points in space where they're going to enter space or come back in. And for me, that right there shows how powerful all our brains can be in different aspects if we allow ourselves to tap into that, to heal ourselves. I'm going to say create abundance around money, because money's an everyday part of our lives. So many of us have stories around them. But the most important thing is to really be empowered. When I talk about people being empowered around their personal economy, I believe that that's their, that could be their spiritual relationship, emotional, mental, physical. And then when you do that inner work, it expands into your outer work of even within your family. I know that sometimes I have women come to my meetings and they'll say, well, my spouse is not on par, especially if the woman is the financial person. Like she's the numbers and the guy's not. And what have we been told? Men and women have been told, well, guys are better at math, boys are better at math. And so if the men are not the financial ones, they're feeling lesser than. And if the woman is the financial one, she's thinking she's got to keep it quiet, right? She can't show her spouse up. And so you have these dynamics of both sides holding, I'm going to call it preconceived notions and stories that just all need to go by the wayside. Enough with this taboo talk chatter that we allow in for self-criticism. And we get to do, I love a quote that you said. Let me see if I wrote it up. Someday starts now. Unlock the power of you. So I was talking about, well, this came from you, this quote, and it's about unlocking, you hear this, unleash the power within, right? But this really is about unleashing power. And it actually can happen quite organically and quite simply and comfortably, so that this way people get to maximize showing up as their better selves.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the whole point of this. How do you show up as your true, authentic self?
Yes.
Sharing your gifts, your passion, your purpose in the world, right? And not holding yourself small because other people might be offended by it, right?
Yes.
It's like no, you're unique. You're the only one of you, and you are here to share your message, your gifts, your talents, and the unique fashion that you get to do that, right? And when folks are able to really embrace that and own it, it eliminates so many fears because they just feel more empowered. And so when I say someday starts now, because I always hear, oh, someday I'm going to do that, or someday I'm going to write that book, or someday I'm going to I was like, no, today is the day. Now is the time for you to step forth. I have a quote up here on my wall to remind me. It says, if not now, then when? Now is the time.
Right? Now is the time, right? It's that if you want to feel better today, if you're not feeling good, you need to start now. And so I know we only have 1 minute left, so I really want to share, if you want to know more about Michele, go to michelemolitor.com. She has a free ebook, Keys to Cultivating Your Confidence. And who doesn't need confidence in one area of life or another? So I really appreciate the ebook. And definitely, she also has, I love the rewiring. So Facebook groups, Rewire for Success with Michele. And if you need to know more information, check out mamaritamoney.com. We're going to have an amazing event in just 30 minutes with Michele to do a rapid rewiring your relationship with money. So if you can join us, reach out to mamaritamoney.com or reach out to michelemolitor.com at Nectar Consulting. Michele, thank you so much for such a wonderful session. I really appreciate
you
and the abundance of love that you bring to the world.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Rita. It's really a joy to be here with you. Thanks, everyone, and many blessings.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.